Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
And officers, I'd like to open. Oh, sorry. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to open a special meeting for the 24th of June, 2021. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the acknowledgement to country. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Darumbal people, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I extend that respect to our neighbouring Aboriginal peoples within our local government area. The Gungaloo Nation people, the Barada, Cabelbarra and Yeddamarala people. I also acknowledge the Torres Strait Islander people whose land is in the Torres Straits but who live and work on Aboriginal land. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to apologies and leave of absence. We have nil. We have a full complement this morning. Number 4, declarations and matters on the agenda. As there's a budget meeting, there's no requirement for any declarations in that space. So we'll move straight on to the officers' reports, 5.1. But firstly, I'd like to open with some comments, and I'd seek further comment from the councillors as we go through this morning. Councillors, the budget presented today sets the foundations for which we will grow our region bigger and better in the Rockhampton area. This budget that invests in growth in services, growth in population and growth in infrastructure. At its heart is the catalyst of water and sewerage capital program which shows council's vision for our region. We are looking at a better future as we deal with the challenging present, and it has been tough. We have had pandemics, droughts, our income has been lower and our bills higher. And through this, we have made the tough calls and the right calls. This budget, which delivers certainty in uncertain times, it looks to the future while looking after our community. And it grows our populations while shrinking our deficit. This is an infrastructure budget, and the centrepiece of this year's budget is a $77 million investment over the next 3 years into 3 catalyst projects: the North Rockhampton Sewage Treatment Plant, the Gracemere Sewage Treatment Plant, and the Glenmore Water Treatment Plant. Once completed, these projects will unlock our region's future growth. They will allow us to grow our community from around 35,000 homes and businesses to more than 50,000. Why is it important? I'd like to take this moment to revisit the history and how these projects have reached this point. In 2013, a planning study for the future of our sewage treatment plants was completed and showed that we needed one of these plants to accommodate a population of 100,000. Council currently has 4 treatment plants in the Rockhampton, Gracemere and Mount Morgan. An estimate was prepared based on similar plants and inserted into our long-term financial plan. At the time, the study of the plant showed that the estimated on growth predictions for the population of 100,000, but the strategies and reviewed over those few years, and in 2016, those reviews showed that the growth had slowed and that we only required a small upgrade to the capacity of that plant. So the estimated population was reduced and included in our long-term forecast, amended accordingly. As we have seen over the last year and a half, the region and the city is growing. The recent growth in predictions indicated that we now need a plant to accommodate 75,000. The North Rockhampton Sewage Treatment Plant will have an upgrade to cater for that significant residential development that we will see the Riverside, Edenbrook, as well as the approval of 200,000 plus lots at the Elida development. This plant will take us through to at least 2042. The back of the wider budget is now, this year alone, is our capital program of $151 million, with more than $60 million funded from state and federal governments. Within our capital works program, there's $30 million will be spent in civil infrastructure this year on roads, footpaths and stormwater drains. Another $14.7 million is going towards our water and sewage network, and with the treatment, and more than $3 million be invested into a solar farm at Glenmore to cut our power bills and increase our sustainability. $5 million will go to waste projects across the region, and almost $30 million will be spent at the airport, 25 of which is from federal government funding going towards the Alliance hangar. At the same time, we are investing in the social fabric of our great community, so people have recreational opportunities that they need and deserve. This year we'll see more than $3 million to continue with the redevelopment of the Rockhampton Zoo. We will begin with a $5 million upgrade to the Mount Morgan pool and invest those dollars into a boat ramp at Port Alma and into Inkerman Creek. We will also look at investing more than $2 million into new parks and maintaining our current ones. Our commitment to the new Rockhampton Museum of Art continues, with a $4.3 million in this year's budget towards the fitting out of the building and the acquisitions that will begin with the millions of dollars of work that go into the Heritage Village as well. As I detailed in the investment in our community, it's worth noting that our community, who reaps the benefits, based off the previous year, we will typically see a 70 to 80% of that spend that goes back to local businesses, the engine room of our community and our economy. When I was sworn in as Mayor in February, I wanted to work with the councillors to get the council back in the black after last year's deficit of $5.4 million. I'm pleased to say that this year's budget sets council up to return to surplus next financial year. Today we have reduced the deficit by more than $3 million to end up with $2.1 million in the red this year. Our challenge has been to cut the cost without cutting the services, and that's what we've done. From here we will need to stay on course to continue with to find a better and smarter ways of doing business to stretch our dollar further. In this budget, we are proposing a rate increase of 3.35% for the typical residential ratepayer. This is a total of $2.26 extra per week. We have kept this rate as low as possible while ensuring we can continue to fund the services, deliver that vital infrastructure projects, and ensure that we do not compromise our future. We have done this in the face of reduced income from the airport, higher insurance costs, and the pressures from the ongoing drought in Mount Morgan, which is forcing us to cut water daily. We will continue with our support for the residents and help them manage with their costs of living. We have kept the 10% discount for those that pay their rates on the due date, and the pensioner rebate is up to $260 when combined with the government concession of $200. This is much needed relief for the thousands of pensioners. In conclusion, I would like to thank and commend my fellow councillor colleagues in their efforts for the constructive debate and the compromises we've all had to make over the many workshops, and undertake this in order to form our budget. I'd also like to acknowledge the efforts of our CEO, Evan Pardon, Peter Coford, our leadership team, Alicia Cutler, our Chief Financial Officer, Marnie Taylor, Ross Cheeseman, our Deputy CEO, and the finance team, and all the hours and efforts that they put into this budget. It is greatly appreciated. After 17 years in council, this is my first budget that I will hand down as Mayor of the Rockhampton region. I commend the 2021-22 budget to you for your consideration and adoption. Thank you, councillors. So just like to go if there's any other comments from councillors around the table. Happy to do that.
Do you want to start around the table?
Yeah, if you like, Councillor Fisher.
Yes. Actually, firstly there, thank you, Mr Mayor. This budget process, I think, has actually been very open, very free-flowing as far as comments, and also a budget there where we've been able to have input as well as be able to have those sometimes robust discussions on some of those projects and some of the items within the budget. But I thought I'd like to sort of just comment on a couple of key areas and sort of putting in our budget in comparison to other budgets within Central Queensland. And one of the things that probably is always very hard for regional councils is actually see that there is a fair spend and a fair budget for all of the communities that make up a regional council. Now, throughout Central Queensland, many of the local governments have actually seen a contraction in their satellite areas and everything coming back to the main base. I think one of the things that we can really feel that we can take and be quite proud of is that spend in our communities outside the greater Rockhampton urban area has actually still been at a higher level per capita than even the likes of North Rockhampton. And I think that this is something that our communities outside the urban Rockhampton area there can actually take as that we are listening, we do hear their needs and we support their needs. And in a very tough economic climate, this is something that I think we can hold very dear. I'd also sort of like to sort of just reflect on some of the projects in this budget have been quite a number of years in their makeup. And two that I would like to highlight is a budget about 4 years ago, Mr Mayor, when you were Chairman of Infrastructure, we purchased a vehicle there to actually address the pothole need in the Rockhampton region. I looked this morning as to this week going back 4 years ago when I had put in 40 pothole requests just in Division 2. This last 3 months, I haven't put in more than 3 pothole requests. That has been some of the things when you look at a budget and forming a budget, some of those investments can actually have a big impact. So that means that when we go through and look at our infrastructure budget, there are so many less roads in some areas that don't need those big spends because we have had that ongoing maintenance. I think that that is a credit to council, and also, Mr Mayor, as chairman, you fought for that, and we're actually seeing the benefits. Second was the solar farm at Fitzroy River Water, and I know that we could probably compare scars in getting that to this stage, but it is one of those projects that I think is a long-term project, and a real credit to the entire council and officers there to actually see this come together. It was something that always made sense, but you do have to prove that there is value for money to the ratepayers, and I think, Mr Mayor, that is one that has been very, very well constructed. But I do have those passion areas that I like to talk about, and I love anything aviation. To see in this year's budget that there is $26 million for the Rockhampton Maintenance Facility is a very, very big tick. And this is something that we'll be talking in 10 years' time, and maybe I've got my wheelie walker and sort of saying, oh yes, I remember that budget. But the $26 million there creates a whole new industry. We'll need those facilities that the Mayor spoke about in this year's budget, because we'll have that extra population that will be required with all of those new skills for the Rockhampton region. But also the airport has two other significant spends. One is the cross runway, where there's $1 million being spent on the cross runway. And many people say, well, why? You've got one runway, why do you need two? Rockhampton Airport always started off as two separate airports, and it wasn't until World War II that it actually became one airport. But the cross runway there has a significant benefit, and one of the reasons is Rockhampton region and Rockhampton Airport is the largest base for the Royal Flying Doctor Service. There are more passengers or patients that have flown out of Rockhampton than any other of their regional facilities in Queensland, so it's very, very important. The last one there is probably one that won't make the media, and I wanted to highlight that, and that is to nearly $750,000 in the budget. It's called a paid car parking equipment. But when you go to park at the airport, we've got 11-year-old equipment that is hanging on by a thread of just keeping the public able to grab their tickets, purchase their parking times. This new equipment is state-of-the-art. It's one of those ones, we're used to it at the Rockhampton Hospital, but it actually has number plate recognition. It also there gives the ability there to actually do specials, and like Cairns that have used the car parking there as certain times, there's those times where we can promote, come out to the airport, come and have a meal at the airport, which councillors and mayor, we're all doing that after for lunch today, but there's a discount for a meal. Or it could mean there that we could have, okay, first 50 people that use the car park on Thursday morning get a free coffee. This is all part of having one of the most modern and efficient airports in regional Australia. So while this is only a small piece of our Rockhampton Airport budget, it's one there that will actually help not only in generating income locally, but we're also competing against airports in Emerald, in Gladstone, and with something like this and some specials, if you've got to travel maybe 150 kilometres to an airport, and you could say, okay, do I go to Emerald, do I go to Rockhampton, or do I go to Gladstone? This might be the thing that actually sees, well, we'll go to Rockhampton, then we'll get that free coffee and catch the flight out of Rockhampton. So this is another spend to actually improve the use of Rockhampton Airport. So, councillors, Mr Mayor, I think that when we were looking at this budget first up, I think the comment was made, we're going to have to lock up all those sharp instruments there because it's going to be tough. Under your leadership and the skills of our finance team and the leadership team, we've actually got a budget that we can sort of stand hand on heart and say this is a budget there that's actually going to see Rockhampton develop in the future. So I commend that and thank you, Mr Mayor, for the process that you led during the budget. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fisher. Councillors, any other councillors want to make comment to the budget? Councillor Kirkland?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to say that this is the second time sitting around the table to deliver a budget. The first time was right in the midst of everything COVID, and it was touted as being the most difficult budget that had ever been delivered to the community of Rockhampton. And I have to say that this year's budget wasn't dissimilar. And we've all heard the comments that sometimes we work, we toil with blood, sweat and tears. I can assure the community there was sweat and tears, and I'm also glad that there was no blood shed. However, there were times where I feared that it might be. and I absolutely echo the sentiment that our Mayor has shared. The wording that is put together appropriately describes everything that we are bringing to the community. So thank you, Mr Mayor. Your address was excellent. And the only thing that I'd like to add to that, of course, as the Portfolio Chair for Water and Environment, is that a great piece of this budget, this capital expenditure this year, is $77 million in our infrastructure of sewerage and water. And that's over 3 major projects. And I'm very excited about that because it means that we are augmenting for a reason, we are renewing for a reason, and that is for the benefit of the community's growth. And it's going to bring an extra 300 jobs to our region, which is fabulous, and a local injection to our economy of about $107 million. So that is for those people who will be delivering the augmentation of those facilities, and that's exciting in itself. We're going to see an extra 16,000 homes catered for, and that'll take us into the next 30 years. We've got a very conservative figure of about 1% per year. That's going to be our growth. I expect and anticipate, with the wonderful work that Advance Rockhampton are doing, that we will exceed that, and so to be prepared for that is very prudent, and I congratulate all of my colleagues. It has been a difficult budget to bring together. I congratulate certainly Mr CEO and all of the leadership team. There have been considerable compromises, I suppose, or sacrifices, as Mayor said, in different areas, but absolutely no sacrifice to the delivery of services to our community. And so well done to everybody who's been able to find those efficiencies. And I think that today's budget, as you have said, Mr Mayor, is for a bigger, better, brighter future for Rockhampton, and looking forward to seeing what that deficit continue to go down, and we'll be moving into a surplus in the next couple of years. And so that's an exciting prospect for our region, for our community, and for our surrounding communities that we are now working very well in collaboration with. So thank you, colleagues, thank you, everybody, and well done, Mr Mayor.
Thanks very much, Councillor Kirkland. I think we still have a lot of work ahead of us, but it's great to get to this point and put that work that we've already achieved today. I'll go to Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Like a lot of people, I was dreading this budget because of COVID and other factors, but I think it hasn't been too bad. Sort of like, you know, there's a little bit of a relief in places. If someone ever asks me what I think our region needs, and I always say better roads, so I think I'm in the right department now. But there are so many departments and factors that make up our budget and make up our council. And a $30 million spend on roads and footpaths is quite significant. I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite happy that some of our little rural communities are going to see some bitumen this year, which is really great. And we look forward to more state and federal funding in the coming year. We don't know what's going to fall out of the sky. We know what normally does, but hopefully there will be some other grants come along that we will be successful in. And thank you to all the people who write the grants, and the fact that we have a lot of projects shovel ready is very, very significant when we're applying for these grants. So thank you to the CEO and all the leadership team, all our officers, managers and staff, because I think we've got great teams of people, and congratulations to our Mayor, Councillor Williams, you're doing us proud. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor. Councillor Rutherford, or Councillor Rutherford, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I'd also like to offer my congratulations and thanks to our wonderful officers, but also the entire organisation. You know, it has been a tough. We can't say it enough how tough a budget this has been to pull together, and how much has needed to be done through the entire organisation to be able to achieve it. So without that support, we wouldn't have got to the place we are. So thank you. I am probably more excited by this budget. It's not sexy budget at all, but I'm probably more excited about this budget than I have been about others that have been delivered more pretty things, because this is the budget that really builds our future. This is the budget that sets us up for the next 30, 40 years, and it is about building our community and building the future for our children. And I'm really hoping that we can take our community on the journey with us in this one. It hasn't been without pain, and there will be some things that we've all had pet projects that we've been pushing on behalf of our community that we've had to let go to achieve this, but the payoff will be there if we are patient and we all work together. I'd also like to thank the entire council table there for their support of the Mount Morgan community, our community, who are going through a particularly tough time, the support of the table and the organisation to back that community up and continue to look for a path forward for them with their water supply is truly amazing. So thank you all for that. And once again, Mr Mayor, congratulations on a great budget.
Thanks very much, Councillor. Appreciate those words. Councillor Wickerson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As colleagues might know, my background was in building design. One of the least exciting parts of any building design or house design is the foundations. But without good foundations, the rest of it comes to naught, possibly. So this budget, I believe, sets those foundations for our future going forward. It'll accommodate that extra growth that we anticipate getting, thanks very much to our Economic and Tourism Development Wing, Advance Rockhampton, that continue to secure and pursue more opportunities in that area. But like with a house, probably the second least sexy part is the bathroom, until you don't have one. So while it may not be the ideal ribbon-cutting event and gala expose that we like, with galleries and such, it's absolutely essential. And again, if we want to cater for those influx of new residents to Rockhampton, which we badly need to support our ongoing future, we can't do that without that augmented sewage treatment plant. So that's, while not exciting, absolutely essential. And also just to thank all the staff. Every single person that works with this organisation contributes in their way to the good of the whole one team that we strive for. So, and just to conclude, thank you for very strong leadership, probably aside from budget considerations, also setting overdue relationships with our neighbours and with other organisations that we had drifted away from. I think also moving forward, that's essential. If we're going to progress this region, we need to work with other regions collaboratively and in a coordinated way if we want to get the support from other levels of government and also our own community. So, and thank you for the leadership with that.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wickerson. I think that analogy of the house and the toilet really does put it in a different perspective, but it is very prudent about setting the foundations. Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and I likewise would like to commend everyone, the leadership team and the councillors for part of this process. So I appreciate the fact that we've been given more time this time around to do the budget as my second budget that I've been involved with. And for me, I just want to make a few points. That I see each budget as a snapshot of where the council sees its immediate future for the Rockhampton regional community. And I commend this back to basics budget with the must-do infrastructure for jobs and growth and for the future of our great region. In my portfolio, it's pleasing to see a commitment to a $5 million capital expenditure for waste and recycling, especially predominantly at the extending the life of the Lakes Creek landfill, and that's an essential service in our community. And finally, it's exciting to see a new park in the residential growth area of Norman Gardens. Looking forward to that.
Councillor Mathers.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. So first budget for me, so quite exciting times, so thanks very much for everybody for helping me through it. I'd just like to quickly talk about the process more so than the budget itself, because as a first time coming and seeing what happens in the background, the amount of work, the amount of discussions, the amount of debate that goes into it. And I'm just very proud to see. Sometimes I wish that the general public could see what goes on behind the closed doors. I know some stuff we wouldn't want them to see with the discussions that we have, but the work that goes into making these hard decisions on behalf of the community, I think is extremely important. And I'm also very pleased to see the fact that there's been so much compromise where we've decided to not have the bright new toys or the fancy new toys, and we've gone back to the infrastructure, the stuff that we need to move forward for the growth and the betterment of the community. So I'd just like to say once again, Mr Mayor, councillors, and the leadership team, Marnie's team, you've done a very good job, and I'm very pleased to see how things work behind this side of the door. Well done.
Thanks very much, Councillor Mathers. It's great, and thanks everyone for your comments. It really does mean a lot, and help us with this budget process. Okay, councillors, now we move into the agenda proper, so we might go straight into the officers' reports, and item 5.1, the 2021-22 operational plan and performance plan. So thank you very much, Alyssa.
Good morning, Mr Mayor and councillors. This report is presenting Council's 21-22 operational plan for the upcoming financial year, as well as our performance plans for the 3 business units of Council. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all for your feedback and contribution to helping us identify the priorities for the upcoming financial year, as well as more broadly all of the staff that have contributed to the actions and contents of the document before you. So if there's no questions, I seek approval and adoption of our operational plan.
Okay, thanks very much. Alyssa, I'm happy to move the operational plan as per the officer's recommendation and seek a seconder. Seconded Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thanks very much, councillors. Well done, Alicia and the team for doing that report up. Again, many workshops and discussions in the preparation of that document. Moving on to 5.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, can I just say also, once again, thank you to the team, but just, I guess, a public comment to say how great our staff actually are, that they are willing to work with us, that, this document was changed, at the start of this week, so right up into the last minute, we had the opportunity to keep having input into that, and that's no easy thing to happen. So, thank you very much for working with us and being so patient to make sure that we're comfortable that we've got it right.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, that's well said. Okay, councillors, moving on to 5.2, the monthly budget review for May. Thanks very much, Marnie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and good morning, everyone. So before we actually launch into the 2021-22 budget, we need to look at the monthly budget review for the 2021 financial year. This is presented with updated budget estimates for the end of May 2021. As we have previously workshopped Council, we are seeing an improvement in our financial position, and particularly in relation to our deficit, which is moving from the revised budget position of 5.1 million, which was adopted in February, to 2.6 million, which we will intend to finish the year with. We've also seen some quite large changes in terms of our capital program and a lot of carryover into next year. So we did adopt a revised budget in February of $151 million for our capital program, and we'll see that now move to closing the year with around $120 million in capital works. The remainder of these works will carry over into 21-22 and have been incorporated into the budget, which will be adopted later this morning. I guess if there's no questions in relation to that budget, I recommend that it is approved.
Okay, thanks very much, Marnie. Again, credit to yourself and the team, even with the long-term financial plan and softening some of those capital projects going forward to be able to accommodate that in the 10-year plan, something there that really did take a lot of work to be able to smooth that through. But Councillor, I'll seek a mover and a seconder that recommendations received. Councillor Wickerson, seconded Councillor Mathers. I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thanks very much, councillors. Uh, 5.3, the finance policies for review. Thanks very much again, Marnie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So presented for Council's consideration and adoption are a couple of finance policies for review. The rates concession policy be adopted in accordance with Chapter 4, Part 10 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, and that the debt borrowings policy for 2021-22 financial year be adopted in accordance with Section 192 of the Local Government Regulation 2012. So councillors provided was some marked up versions of those policies, just to provide you with some information as to those changes that had occurred, and also identifying the borrowings program for the next 10 years, which is captured in the debt borrowings policy.
Okay. Again, thanks very much, Marnie. Could I seek a mover and a seconder for that recommendation? Move Councillor Kirkland, seconded Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, with the next item, there's 13 different resolutions, so I'm sure we'll all get a chance to have a vote on and move and second a lot of these items. So we'll slowly work through that as we work towards the adoption of the 21-22 budget. Simone, would you like to speak to any of that, or we just work through those?
Yep. Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, in accordance with Chapter 5, Part 2, Division 3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a local government must adopt for each financial year a budget for its operations prior to the 1st of August in the financial year. The recommendations, we're going to go through each of them, but the first one is in relation to the revenue statement, that pursuant to sections 169(2) and 172 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council adopt the revenue statement 2021-22 as tabled.
Okay, councillors, a mover and a seconder. Move Councillor Rutherford, seconded Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is in relation to differential general rates. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 81 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the categories into which rateable land is categorised, the description of those categories, and pursuant to Sections 81.4 and 81.5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the method by which the land is to be identified and included in its appropriate category is as follows. So those categories from Category 1 through to 27B are listed in there.
Okay, councillors, seek a mover and a seconder with regards to the categories. Move Councillor Mathers, seconder. Councillor Fisher. We'll put that. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors.
So the next one is Council delegates to the CEO the power pursuant to Sections 81.4 and 81.5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 to identify the rating category to which each parcel of rateable land belongs. Did you want to do this all together, that A through to D or E, or as one resolution?
One resolution, thanks. Yep.
Yep, okay. So Part C is pursuant to Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2009 and Section 80 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the differential general rate to be made and levied for each general rate category, and pursuant to Section 77 of the Local Government Regulation, the minimum general rate to be made and levied for each differential general rate category is as follows. So that's for each of the categories 1 through to 27, and the rates that apply, both minimum general and the rate in the dollar. And then for the final part of that resolution, for the 2021-2022 financial year, Council will not be resolving to limit any increases in rates and charges. So that's the end of that resolution.
Okay. Okay, could I seek a mover and a seconder with regards to that? Move Councillor Wickerson, seconder. Councillor Mathers. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Just wait for Karen to catch up. Okay, money, thank you.
All right, thank you. So the next one is in relation to the separate charge for the road network. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2009 and Section 103 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council make and levy a separate charge to be known as the Road Network Separate Charge in the sum of $460 per rateable assessment, to be levied equally on all rateable land in the region for the defraying part of the costs of maintaining the road network within the region.
Move Councillor Smith. Do we have a seconder for that one? Seconded Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thanks, Marnie.
Okay. So the next one is in relation to the separate charge for natural environment. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2009 and Section 103 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council make and levy a separate charge to be known as the Natural Environment Separate Charge in the sum of $55 per rateable assessment, to be levied equally on all rateable land in the region for the defraying part of formulating and implementing initiatives for environmental protection, enhancement and conservation, including the many varied initiatives that contribute to these outcomes within the region. It is also noted that the discount for prompt payment of rates and charges granted in accordance with Section 130 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 will not apply to the Natural Environment Separate Charge.
Yeah, thanks, Marnie. Move Councillor Kirkland, seconded Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors.
So the next special charge is in relation to fire and emergency levies. So the recommendation is that pursuant to Section 128A of the Fire and Emergency Services Act 1990 and Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2009, make and levy special charges for the provision of rural firefighting services to certain parts of the region. The charges shall be levied on all land which specifically benefits from the provision of rural firefighting services. For 2021-22, and the Council shall make a special charge in the following amounts for each of the following fire brigades. So there's amounts there for Alton Downs, Bajul, Baldcombe, Kalliyungal, Dalma, Gagango, Gracemere, Callapa and Marmor and Westwood. The rateable land to which each of these special charges will apply is land within the areas separately described on the map titled Rockhampton Regional Council Rural Fire Brigades Boundaries, and as appears in the map below. The discount for the prompt payment of rates and charges granted in accordance with Section 130 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 will not apply to these charges, and an overall plan for the special charges is stated within the revenue statement.
Okay, thanks, Marnie. Mover and a seconder with the fire special charge. Move Councillor Wickerson, second Councillor Smith. We'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried.
So the next one is around water utility charges. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2009 and Sections 99 and 101 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council make and levy water utility charges for the supply of water services by the Council as follows. And listed within this resolution are water service charges for Gracemere, Rockhampton and Mount Morgan.
Thank you. Move Councillor Kirkland. The second, Councillor Mathers. We'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Carried unanimously. Thanks, Marnie.
The next one is in relation to sewerage utility charges. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2009 and Section 99 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council make and levy sewerage utility charges for the supply of sewerage services by the Council as follows. So in those three declared areas of Gracemere, Mount Morgan and Rockhampton. and the application of the above levied sewerage utility charges be in accordance with further detail provided in Council's adopted revenue statement for 2021-22.
Move Councillor Kirkland, seconded Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Marnie.
Waste management utility charges. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2009 and Section 99 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council make and levy waste management utility charges for the supply of waste management services by the Council as follows. So that information is provided in there for both domestic and commercial services. The application of the above levied waste management utility charges be in accordance with further detail provided in Council's adopted revenue statement for 2021-22.
Okay, thanks, Marnie. I move Councillor Latcham, seconded that one. Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Marnie.
So the next one is in regards to discount. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 130 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, discount will be applied to differential general rates, separate charges excluding the natural environment separate charge, sewerage utility charges, water utility charges excluding the water consumption charges, waste management utility charges, and they will be subject to a discount of 10% if paid within the 30 clear days of issue of the rate notice, provided that all of the above-mentioned rates and charges are paid within the 30 clear days of the date of the issue of the notice. All other rates and charges appearing on the rate notice that are not subject to a discount are paid within 30 clear days after the date of issue of the rate notice, and all other overdue rates and charges relating to the rateable assessment are paid within 30 clear days of the date of issue of the rate notice.
Okay. Move Councillor Latcham, seconded Councillor Kirkland. I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thanks, Marnie.
Interest. So the recommendation is that pursuant to Section 133 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, compound interest on daily rests at the rate of 8% per annum is to be charged on the balance of all rates and charges remaining outstanding 30 clear days after the due date.
Move and seconder. Move Councillor Rutherford, seconded Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Marnie.
Levy and payment. The recommendation is that pursuant to Section 107 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 and Section 114 of the Fire and Emergency Services Act 1990, Council's rates and charges and the State Government's Emergency Management Fire and Rescue Levy be levied for the half year 1st of July 2021 to the 31st of December 2021 in August or September of 2021, and for the half year 1st of January 2022 to the 30th of June 2022 in February-March of 2022. And pursuant to Section 118 in the Local Government Regulation 2012, that Council's rates and charges and the State Government's Emergency Management Fire and Rescue Levy be paid on the day that is 30 clear days after the date of issue of the rate notice.
Thanks, Marnie. Move Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Getting there, Councillor. I think we've got 3 left. Thanks, Marnie.
Statement of estimated financial position. So the recommendation is that pursuant to Section 205 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the statement of the financial operations and financial position of the Council in respect of the previous financial year, the statement of estimated financial position, be received and its contents noted.
I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Councillor Kirkland. Put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
So the big one, the adoption of the budget, that pursuant to Section 104 of the Local Government Act 2009 and Sections 169 and 170 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council's budget for the 2021-2022 financial year, incorporating the statements of income and expenditure, the statements of financial position, the statements of cash flows, the statements of changes in equity, the long-term financial forecast, the total value of the change expressed as a percentage in the rates and utility charges levied for the financial year compared with the rates and utility charges levied in the previous budget, the relevant measures of financial sustainability, the revenue policy, estimated activity statement for significant business activities, a statement showing the estimated costs of council's significant business activities and commercial business units, and the estimated activity statement for other business activities to which the Code of Competitive Conduct applies as tabled be adopted.
I'm happy to move. Councillor Fisher seconded. Deputy Mayor. We'll put that. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. And the last one, thanks, Marnie.
Finally, in relation to the working papers, the recommendation is that Council receives the remainder of the documentation as working papers to support the 2021-2022 adopted budget, including the capital budget listing for 21-22 through to 23-24 from page 60 of the budget book, and the budget report from pages 2 to 17 of the budget book.
Movers, move Councillor Fisher, seconded Councillor Kirkland. We'll put that. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thanks again, councillors. Councillors, there be no further items on the agenda. I will now close the meeting and thank everyone for their attendance. Well done, everyone.
And all the goodness we would bring, of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming